Well, let me tell you something. Everything comes to an end.
Everything comes to an end. Does that include loyalty to Tony? In other words, would Carmela flip on him at the end?
Richie's gone.
I'm a little concerned that the returns don't really reflect everything. There is other income. It's a lot more.
Carmela, after 18 years of marriage, don't make me make you an accessory after the fact.
An accessory after the...
Sometimes she even knows the specifics.
His crimes. They are, organized crime.
The mafia.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus ain't got nothing to do with it.
Even before Tony's probable indictment, Carmela was already getting suspicious and impatient. She knew what Tony Soprano did for a living.
Oh, it's been building in me. I need to get it out. There's so much in me.
But now it was personal.
Look, I found Cosette.
Your friend, someone needs to tell her she's dead.
And she even thought of hiring a private investigator to look for Adriana, that Adriana wanted to be left alone.
You must trust your initial impulse. You'll never be able to feel good about yourself. You'll never be able to quell the feelings of guilt and shame that you talked about.
Why now?
It's Carlo. He's going to testify.
Let's think about a few season 6 pressure points. We have Adriana and her disappearance, and Carmela's suspicion that something happened to her. We have Tony almost dying, then having to go down to Miami because of some possible legal trouble. Then Carmela sees Christopher's mistress at his funeral.
I'm a recovering addict. I owe him a lot.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Good-looking woman.
Then they have to go to the safe house. Then they come back home, but nothing's really changing or getting better.
You see, I never could please my mother.
I don't think this would be an Adriana type of situation where they catch Carmela and use threatened criminal action against her to get her to talk. I think it would be more likely to occur if Tony had been indicted, he decides to go to trial and makes things harder for the family.
Look, trials are there to be won.
The feds have reached a complete accounting of your worth.
The vintage Wurlitzer? They go through my fucking sock drawer?
They shot a video the day of your arrest. They even tracked down the 180 grand in Boca Raton under your father's name. They estimate your net worth at $5 million.
Well, Ginny lives on scraps.
If we remember, a big reason that Johnny Sack took the plea deal was to make sure that his family, and his wife in particular, wasn't screwed and left with nothing. Though Tony ended up making it so that she got kicked out of her home anyway, but that's another topic.
This is what life is still like at our age.
Here we go.
Jenny Sack had to move in with her fucking daughter, Tony.
Again with Jenny Sack.
As long as you're his accomplice.
You're wrong about the accomplice part, though.
Are you sure?
All I do is make sure he's got clean clothes in his closet and dinner on his table.
So enabler would be a more accurate job description for you than accomplice. My apologies.
Honestly, I think about my son in front of those cameras, having to vouch for all of this. My daughter and her friends. They have to face all these years of facading.
They do or you do.
Don't you find this completely embarrassing?
What?
This? Our family?
We're entitled to search the rest of the domicile.
I'm gonna keep trying Mink, Tony, all right? I don't trust that secretary.
Oh my God.
Look at these fucking reporters.
Hey! Fuck you!
At any rate, I'm thinking it's time I move forward with the divorce proceedings.
Miss Soprano, I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you short. As far as handling it, I'm afraid I have to recuse myself.
What do you mean? Why?
Actually, your husband had been in to see me for a consultation last year.
My husband hired you?
No, But based on a prior meeting, the Code of Professional Responsibility precludes me from representing you. Because of that consultation.
See, I don't understand this. Why is my husband so picky? He talked to 7 or 8 of the top divorce attorneys in New Jersey.
Well, you can probably figure that maneuver out for yourself. I understand your frustration. If you like, I can recommend a colleague. Someone your husband hasn't contaminated.
The good thing with the government is that Tony can't go see the government attorneys and contaminate them into not being able to work with Carmela.
The house is in my name, not the boat.
That's the Stugatz?
When Carmela says the house is in her name but not the boat, it makes me think of how Tony tries to keep his home life and his organized crime life separate, though we know it's not that simple. But we have the boat, the Stugatz, in Tony's name, and this is where they kill Puss and do some other things that Tony couldn't do at home, like with Gloria too. When Irina called the Stugatz, the worst thing that happened was Gloria picked up. But once Irina calls the Soprano home, that's when shit really hits the fan.
Unreported income?
Yes.
But what about that whole marital, spousal, testimonial privilege thing? The privilege belongs to the potential witness spouse. This means Carmela could decide whether to testify, not Tony.
Despite your best efforts, I have an attorney.
It wouldn't be her responsibility to go find a lawyer that Tony hasn't, quote, contaminated. And at least here, Carmela doesn't seem afraid to face him in court if need be.
You're set in perpetuity. There's money in overseas accounts.
I don't have the serial numbers.
You'll have them when the time comes. Not now. For your own benefit. So you're not an accomplice.
Perhaps this could help Carmela if she were to decide to testify. She doesn't know the serial numbers, though she does know the illegal money exists, just like how she knows what Tony does for a living, even if she doesn't know the names or locations of people that Tony has harmed or had killed in the course of doing his business.
You want this to get ugly, Tony? Because these guys live for that.
Oh, you think I don't? You don't want it to get ugly. Too late.
Hey.
Oh, listen, we're not eating at home tonight. I thought we'd go to Holston's.
You said we'd have man to go.
I got meetings with carpenters.
Something that always sticks out to me, that from my perspective shows just how checked out Carmela is by this point, is that her priority is no longer making the family dinner and taking care of them. She has meetings with the carpenters. I think that any rose-colored glasses that she may have put on that helped her sort of cope with the day-to-day, those are gone. What about the spec house? Tony provided the money for the land where they built the house, and it was then sold to Carmela's cousin Brian. And they cut corners with some of the construction material, which was against the building code and why it was denied in the first place. And then Tony had to lean on the building inspector. The aftermath. A new life? Let's think about Carmela's future. Is there witness protection?
Return for any testimony that he might give us. Relocate you and your family. You'll be completely safe, all of you.
Told you to stop talking to my wife. Carmela, why don't you wait outside?
Kiss my ass, Tony.
In that spec house, I made the down payment. I bought the materials. I leaned on that building inspector when you had your thumb up your ass.
To be honest, I don't think it's something where Carmela would get whacked by someone. She would be persona non grata to the highest magnitude, possibly by her own children. Even her own father seems to pick Tony over her in certain instances. I doubt he would encourage her to testify, though you never know.
Let go of me, you piece of shit!
Fact is, you're a shitty businesswoman who built a piece of shit house that's gonna cave in and kill that fucking unborn baby any day.
Fuck yourself!
When I'm gone, you can live in a fucking dumpster for all I care.
Do I think Carmela would testify against Tony? Yes.
He is definitely not the person I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Thanks for watching. Do you think Carmela would have testified against Tony? Why or why not?
In your eyes,